Queen Vera sat on her crystal throne and watched the holographic display with growing fear. The images showed massive dark ships moving through space like hungry shadows. Her hands gripped the armrests so tightly that her knuckles turned white. "Your Majesty," General Hana said quietly. "The reports are confirmed. The Void Swarm has awakened." The words hit Vera like a physical blow. She had read about the Void Swarm in ancient texts, but they seemed like scary stories told to children. Now those monsters were real and heading toward her empire. "How long do we have?" Vera asked. 6 months, maybe 7, Hana replied. "Their advanced scouts are already probing our outer systems." Vera closed her eyes. The Cathani Empire ruled over 300 worlds. Billions of people looked to her for protection. Her fleets were strong, her soldiers brave, but against the Void Swarm, she had seen the old records. Entire civilizations had vanished without a trace when the Swarm last awakened. "What are our options?" she asked. General Hana hesitated. The other military advisors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Finally, Hana spoke the words everyone was thinking but no one wanted to say. "We need allies, Your Majesty. We need the humans." The throne room fell silent. Even saying the word humans made everyone nervous. In the 5 years since Earth joined the Galactic Council, humans had built a reputation that terrified other species. They never surrendered. They never retreated. They won battles that should have been impossible to win. "The humans are dangerous," Admiral Sunho whispered. "They fight like demons. Their soldiers show no fear, no mercy." Vera remembered the reports from the Proxima Wars. A human soldier named Daiho had held a mountain pass alone for 3 days against an entire enemy regiment. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found him still fighting, covered in wounds but refusing to fall back. The enemy had retreated from one man who would not give up. "Tell me about their military leader," Vera said. Hana activated another hologram. The image showed a tall man with cold eyes and scars across his face. He wore simple military clothes but carried himself like death itself. "Captain Wu Jin," Hana said. "Age 35. He has never lost a battle. The other species call him the Ghost Walker because he appears where enemies least expect him. His soldiers would follow him into the heart of a star if he asked." Vera studied the human's face. There was something in his eyes that made her shiver. It was not cruelty or madness. It was something worse. Absolute certainty. This man believed. He could win any fight, and somehow that belief made it true. "The humans fight differently than us," Admiral Sunho said. "They use tactics that seem insane but somehow work. They sacrifice anything to achieve victory. They turn their own pain into a weapon." "What choice do we have?" General Hana asked. "Fight the Void Swarm alone and die with honor? Or ask the humans for help and maybe survive?" Vera stood up from her throne. Through the great windows, she could see her capital city stretching toward the horizon. Millions of people lived there in peace. They trusted her to keep them safe. What good was honor if everyone she loved was dead? "Send the message," she said quietly. "Your Majesty?" Hana asked. "Send the Alliance request to Earth. Ask for Captain Wu Jin specifically." Vera's voice grew stronger. "If we must dance with devils to save our people, then we dance." The message was sent that same day. Vera expected to wait weeks for a reply, but the answer came in just 12 hours. It was brief and direct, like everything humans did. "Captain Wu Jin will arrive in 5 days aboard the dreadnought Soul's Pride. Prepare your military records for review. We will discuss terms upon arrival." 5 days. Vera spent those days reading every report about human military tactics. The more she learned, the more frightened she became. Humans did not just win battles. They crushed their enemies so completely that survivors told stories to scare children for generations. On the 5th day, sensors detected the human ship approaching. The Soul's Pride was smaller than Cathani dreadnoughts but somehow looked more dangerous. Its hull was covered in scars from old battles, like a warrior's skin marked by countless fights. "The human ship is requesting permission to dock," the communications officer reported. "Granted," Vera said. She had changed into her formal military uniform instead of royal robes. Something told her that humans respected strength more than ceremony. An hour later, she waited in the main hangar as the human shuttle landed. The doors opened with a hiss of escaping air. 3 figures emerged, all wearing black military uniforms that made them look like pieces of the night itself. Captain Wu Jin stepped forward first. He was even taller than the hologram had shown, nearly 7 feet of muscle and scars. His eyes swept the hangar like a predator checking for threats. When his gaze met Vera's, she felt her breath catch in her throat. "Your Majesty," Wu Jin said, with a slight bow. His voice was quiet but somehow filled the entire hangar. "I am Captain Wu Jin of the Earth Defense Force. This is Lieutenant Yun Ji, my aide, and Sergeant Jae-min, my bodyguard." "Captain," Vera replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Welcome to Cathara Prime." Wu Jin's eyes never stopped moving, cataloging every detail around him. Vera realized he was already planning how to defend this place if needed, or how to capture it if things went badly. "We should begin immediately," the human captain said. "I need to see your military capabilities, your strategic plans, and your intelligence on the Void Swarm. Time is a luxury we do not have." As they walked toward the briefing room, Vera found herself studying the human captain from the corner of her eye. Every step he took was precise and controlled. He moved like violence barely held in check, like a sword that could cut through anything in its path. For the first time in her life, Queen Vera truly understood what it meant to fear another living being. But beneath that fear was something else, and a tiny spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this terrifying human could save them all. The briefing room felt smaller with Captain Wu Jin inside it. Queen Vera sat at the head of the long table, while the human captain studied holographic displays of her empire's military forces. His face showed no emotion as he reviewed the data, but Vera could sense his growing disappointment. "Your fleet formations are beautiful," Wu Jin said finally. "Perfect lines, elegant maneuvers. Very impressive for a parade." General Hana's face darkened. "Those formations have protected our empire for centuries." Wu Jin turned his cold gaze toward the general. "Against what? Pirates? Trade disputes?" He gestured at the display. "These formations will crumble the moment they face the Void Swarm. Your ships are too close together, too predictable. You fight like you expect the enemy to follow rules." "And humans do not follow rules?" Admiral Sunho asked sharply. The human captain smiled, and somehow that smile was more frightening than his frown. "Rules are for species that can afford to lose battles. We cannot." Lieutenant Yun Ji stepped forward and activated a new holographic display. "Your Majesty, with your permission, I would like to show you footage from our recent campaigns." Vera nodded, though part of her did not want to see what humans considered normal warfare. The hologram showed a battle above a red planet. Cathani ships fought with precision and grace, maintaining perfect formation even as enemy fire tore through their ranks. Then human ships arrived, smaller, faster, seemingly chaotic in their movements. "Watch closely," Wu Jin said quietly. The human ships broke every rule of space combat Vera knew. They flew straight into enemy fire, used damaged vessels as battering rams, and coordinated attacks that looked impossible. A single human destroyer, its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere, rammed straight through the center of an enemy formation, while firing everything it had. "The ship soul's hammer," Lieutenant Yunji explained. Captain Dong-Su knew his ship was dying, so he turned it into a weapon. 15 enemy vessels destroyed with one desperate charge. Vera watched in horrified fascination as the human fleet tore through their enemies like wolves through sheep. There was no mercy, no hesitation. When enemy ships tried to surrender, the humans kept fighting. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did they not accept the surrender?" Wu Jin's expression grew darker. "Because surrendering enemies can fight again tomorrow. Dead enemies cannot." The footage continued. Ground battles where human soldiers charged through plasma fire without flinching. Boarding actions where humans fought hand-to-hand in zero gravity. A lone human marine holding a corridor for 6 hours, while his squad mates evacuated civilians. "This is Corporal Minsu," Yunji said. He knew he would die, but he bought enough time for 3,000 people to escape. Vera felt sick. The humans fought with such brutality, such absolute commitment to violence. But they also died to save people they had never met. They were monsters and heroes at the same time. "Your people admire this?" she asked. "We honor those who sacrifice for others," Wu Jin replied. "But we do not pretend war is anything but horror. The question is, what horror are you willing to accept to protect what you love?" General Hana leaned forward. "And what would you require from us?" "Everything," Wu Jin said simply. "Complete integration of our forces. Your people must learn to fight like us. Your commanders must accept human tactical doctrine, and you must be prepared for casualties." "How many casualties?" Admiral Sun Ho asked. Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer but somehow more terrible. "If we are lucky, only half your fleet will survive. If we are unlucky," he shrugged, "we will all die, but we will make the Void Swarm pay dearly for our deaths." The room fell silent. Vera stared at the human captain, trying to understand how he could speak of such losses so calmly. Then she saw it, a flicker of pain in his eyes that he quickly hid. This man was not heartless. He simply carried a burden too heavy for most beings to imagine. "You have led soldiers to their deaths," she said. It was not a question. "Many times," Wu Jin admitted. "Every commander who wins battles must also lose soldiers. The art is knowing which deaths serve a purpose and which are waste. And how? Do you live with that knowledge?" For the first time, the human captain seemed uncertain. "You learn that the dead judge you by what you do with the time they bought you. If their sacrifice saves others, it has meaning. If not..." He left the sentence unfinished. Lieutenant Yunji activated another display. This one showed star charts with projected invasion routes. "The Void Swarm will reach your outer systems in 4 months. We estimate 6 months before they attack your core worlds." "What do you propose?" Vera asked. Wu Jin stood and walked to the star chart. As he moved, Vera noticed how every Kathani officer tensed slightly. Even standing still, the human radiated danger. "We evacuate the outer colonies immediately," he said. "Not to save lives, to deny the swarm resources. Every ship, every weapon, every useful material gets pulled back to defensible positions." "You want us to abandon our people?" General Hana asked angrily. "I want to save them," Wu Jin replied without emotion. "Empty worlds cannot feed the swarm. People trapped on indefensible planets will die screaming as the swarm consumes them. Choose." Vera closed her eyes. She had ruled in peace for 20 years. Her hardest decisions had been trade disputes and colonial rights. Now this human was asking her to abandon entire worlds, to let the enemy take systems her ancestors had died to claim. "What guarantee do we have that this will work?" she asked. "None," Wu Jin said. "But failure following my plan means you die fighting. Failure following your current strategy means you die helpless." The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. This was why other species feared humans. Not because they were cruel, but because they saw reality without comforting lies. They understood that sometimes the choice was not between good and evil, but between one kind of horror and another. "I need time to consider," Vera said. Wu Jin nodded. "You have until tomorrow morning. After that, every hour of delay costs lives." As the meeting ended and the humans left, Vera remained alone in the briefing room. She stared at the star charts showing her empire, her responsibility, her people. Tomorrow she would have to choose between everything she believed about civilized warfare and the harsh reality of survival. For the first time in her life, Queen Vera understood why the human captain looked so tired. Queen Vera stood at the window of her private chambers watching the first evacuation ships leave Cathara Prime's orbit. 3 days had passed since she gave Captain Wu Jin permission to begin his preparations. Already her empire looked different. The human captain had not wasted time. Civilian ships were being converted into troop transports. Luxury cruise vessels now carried weapons instead of passengers. Mining platforms became mobile weapon platforms. Every resource was being redirected toward one purpose: War. Your Majesty, her aide announced. Captain Wu Jin requests your presence in the command center. Vera found the human captain standing before a massive holographic display showing the entire Cathani Empire. Red markers indicated evacuated systems. Blue markers showed defensive positions. Green markers represented supply lines. The pattern looked like a spider's web with their homeworld at the center. The outer rim evacuations are complete, Wu Jin reported without looking away from the display. We saved 80% of the population and most of the industrial equipment. And the 20% we did not save? Vera asked quietly. For a moment, the human captain's shoulders sagged slightly. They chose to stay. Some colonies refused evacuation orders. Others... He paused. Others were too far away when the swarm advance scouts arrived. Vera felt a chill. They are gone? Yes, Wu Jin said simply. The colony on Veth 7 went silent yesterday. 3 million people. Lieutenant Yunji approached with a data tablet. Your Majesty, we have requests from 17 more colonies asking for evacuation assistance, but our transport ships are already overcrowded. This was the choice Vera had, dreaded. Save some people or try to save everyone and lose them all. She looked at Wu Jin's face and saw the same weight she now carried. How many times had he made such decisions? Send the transports to the colonies with the largest populations, she said. The smaller settlements. She could not finish the sentence. Will have to defend themselves, Wu Jin completed. I am sorry, Your Majesty. War makes monsters of us all. Over the following weeks, Vera found herself spending more time in the command center. She watched Wu Jin coordinate the largest military operation in Cathani history. His methods still shocked her, but she began to understand the logic behind them. When food supplies ran low on refugee ships, he ordered the rationing of luxury items first, then basic comforts, then everything except survival necessities. When some wealthy Cathani complained about losing their private quarters to refugees, Wu Jin personally visited them. Vera never learned what he said, but the complaints stopped. How do you do it? She asked him one evening as they reviewed casualty reports. How do you make such hard choices without breaking? Wu Jin was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. You do not make hard choices without breaking. You break and then you keep working anyway. The first major battle came sooner than expected. The Void Swarm hit the border system of Keth Prime with overwhelming force. Vera watched the battle through real-time feeds, her heart racing as she saw Wu Jin's tactics in action. The Cathani fleet did not fight in their traditional formations. Instead, they moved in small groups, striking fast and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Human ships led desperate charges that drew swarm vessels into carefully prepared traps. Nothing looked like the elegant space battles Vera had grown up admiring. Destroyer Squadron 3 is taking heavy damage, Lieutenant Yunji reported. Captain Li Wan is requesting permission to withdraw. Denied, Wu Jin said coldly. Tell him to hold position for 30 more seconds. Vera watched, in horror, as the Cathani destroyer continued fighting while enemy fire tore through its hull. 30 seconds felt like forever. Then, suddenly, human reinforcements appeared behind the swarm vessels, catching them in crossfire. Now he may withdraw, Wu Jin said. The destroyer limped away as the trap closed around the enemy. In minutes, 12 swarm vessels were destroyed. The cost was 1 badly damaged destroyer and 47 dead Cathani sailors. You used them as bait, Vera said, her voice shaking. Yes, Wu Jin admitted. And because Captain Li Wan held his position, we saved the colony below. 1,200 people are alive because 47 died. The battle continued for 6 hours. When it ended, the Cathani human fleet had achieved the impossible. They had defeated a Void Swarm attack force. The cost was brutal. 8 ships destroyed, hundreds dead, thousands wounded. But they had won. In the aftermath, Vera found herself walking through the medical bay, visiting wounded soldiers. Many were young Cathani who had never seen combat before. They looked at her with eyes too old for their faces. Your Majesty, one young pilot whispered, Did we win? Yes, Vera told him. You won. The pilot smiled and closed his eyes. Vera later learned he died from his injuries, still believing his sacrifice had meaning. That night she found Captain Woojin alone on an observation deck staring out at the stars. He looked older than when he had first arrived, worn down by the weight of command. Do you regret agreeing to help us? She asked. No, he said without hesitation. But I regret. That help was necessary. The pilot who died today, Jinho, he was only 19, Vera said. He joined the fleet to see the galaxy, not to die in a war. Woojin nodded slowly. In the end, we do not choose the wars we fight. We only choose how we fight them. Vera stood beside him in the darkness, watching distant stars that might soon be battlefields. She understood now why the human captain carried such sadness. Every victory came with a price, and someone had to count the cost. The swarm will come again, she said. Yes, Woojin agreed. In greater numbers. They learned from this battle, just as we did. And we will be ready? Woojin looked at her with something that might have been respect. Your Majesty, 3 weeks ago, you were a queen who had never seen war. Today you made the decisions that saved a colony. Tomorrow you will make harder ones. Yes, we will be ready. For the first time since the war began, Vera felt something other than fear when she looked at the human captain. She felt partnership. They were no longer alien to each other. They were two beings carrying the same terrible burden, fighting the same impossible war. The Void Swarm would return, and when they did, they would face not just human brutality or Cathani wisdom, but both combined into something new and dangerous. The war room buzzed with urgent activity as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Queen Vera stood beside Captain Woojin, both of them studying the holographic display that showed a sight that chilled her blood. The Void Swarm had returned, in force, not just to Cathani space but to human territory as well. 15 human colonies have gone silent in the past 2 days, Lieutenant Unji reported, her usual calm cracking slightly. The swarm is hitting us on multiple fronts simultaneously. Vera felt her stomach drop. She had hoped that helping the HFY Cathani Empire might spare Earth from the swarm's attention. Instead, it seemed their alliance had simply painted both species as targets. They are not just feeding, Captain Woojin said, his eyes scanning the tactical display. This is coordinated, intelligent. The swarm is learning from our previous victory. Major Jiho, who had arrived with human reinforcements the week before, stepped forward. Captain, Earth Defense Command is requesting immediate consultation. The swarm tactics they are using against our worlds do not match any of our previous intelligence. Because they adapted, Woojin said grimly. They studied how we fight and changed their approach. He turned to Vera. Your Majesty, I need to ask something of you that no ally has ever been asked to do. Vera met his gaze steadily. Over the past weeks, she had learned to read the subtle changes in the human captain's expression. Right now, he looked like a man, about to ask for the impossible. What do you need? I need you to come with me to the front lines, not as a symbol or figurehead, but as a tactical commander. The swarm is using our cooperation against us by predicting our strategies. We need to become something they cannot predict. General Hana stepped forward immediately. Absolutely not. Your Majesty, the risk is too great. The risk of staying here is greater, Woojin said bluntly. If we lose this war, there will be no safe places left in the galaxy. Vera looked around the room at her advisors, her generals, her people who had served her faithfully for years. They were good beings, honorable and wise, but they were not warriors, not in the way this war demanded. What would I do on the front lines? She asked. Woojin activated a new display showing a massive space station at the edge of Cathani territory. Firebase Omega-7. It guards the main hyperspace route to our core systems. If it falls, the swarm will have a clear path to both Earth and Cathara Prime. The station is well defended, Admiral Sunho protested. General Park Soo has 15,000 troops and a full battle fleet. Had, Lieutenant Yoonji corrected quietly. As of this morning, Firebase Omega-7 has been under siege for 18 hours. General Park Soo is requesting immediate reinforcement, or evacuation. The hologram showed the battle raging around the station. Void swarm bioships swarmed like insects around the human Cathani defenders. Even as they watched, one of the defense platforms exploded in a brilliant flash. "We cannot reinforce them," Major Jiho said. "Our main fleet is engaged at 3 other critical points. We barely have enough ships to defend our supply lines." "Then we evacuate," Admiral Sunho said. "No," Vera said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. "Captain Wu Jin is right. If we lose that station, we lose everything. What do you propose?" Wu Jin manipulated the display to show a small fleet of fast attack ships. "Surgical strike. Small force, maximum impact. We break the siege long enough for the defenders to establish a new perimeter. Then we hold until reinforcements can arrive." "How small a force?" Vera asked. 3 human destroyers, 2 Cathani cruisers, and 1 command ship," Wu Jin said. "Total crew complement of 800, against approximately 50,000 void swarm entities." The silence in the room was deafening. Even by human standards, those odds were insane. "Your Majesty," General Hana said desperately, "this is suicide." "Maybe," Vera agreed. "Or maybe it is the only way to win." She looked at Captain Wu Jin. "When do we leave?" "In 4 hours," he replied. "And Your Majesty, bring your combat armor." The next few hours passed in a blur of preparation. Vera donned the ceremonial battle armor of her ancestors, armor that had not been worn in 3 centuries. As her guards helped her with the complex fastenings, she wondered if she would die wearing clothes meant for wars her people had forgotten how to fight. Captain Sunho, the leader of her royal guard, approached as she finished arming herself. "Your Majesty, I request permission to accompany you." "Denied," Vera said firmly. "If I do not return, the Empire will need leaders who remember what peace looks like." "Your Majesty?" "That is an order, Captain." The fleet that departed for Firebase Omega-7 was small and fast. Vera found herself aboard the human destroyer Soul's Vengeance, standing on the bridge beside Captain Wu Jin as they approached the battle zone. "Contact in 30 minutes, Lieutenant Unji reported. "Long-range sensors show the station is still active, but barely." Through the viewports, Vera could see the distant flashes of weapons fire. The battle had been raging for over a day now. How many people had died while she was making her decision? "Your Majesty," Wu Jin said quietly, "I want you to understand something. Once we enter that battle, I cannot guarantee your safety. I cannot even guarantee that our mission will succeed." "Then why did you ask me to come?" The human captain was quiet for a moment. "Because your people need to see that their queen will fight for them. And because mine need to see that aliens can be warriors too. The Void Swarm feeds on fear and division. Today, we show them unity." The battle, when it began, was chaos beyond anything Vera had imagined. The small Allied fleet dove straight into the heart of the swarm formation, weapons blazing. Vera watched in fascination and terror as Captain Wu Jin coordinated the attack with inhuman precision. "Port batteries, target the biocruiser at Vector 77 Mark IV, he ordered calmly while enemy fire rocked the ship around them. "Tell Captain Minsu to take his squadron through the debris field. The swarm ships cannot follow him there." The battle raged for hours. Ships died, good people died, but slowly the Allied forces began to turn the tide. The key moment came when Vera herself spotted a weakness in the swarm formation, a gap in their defensive screen that could be exploited. "There," she said, pointing at the tactical display. "If we hit them from that angle while they are engaged with the station's defenders." Wu Jin studied the display for exactly 3 seconds, then nodded. "All ships adjust course. We are following Her Majesty's battle plan." The final assault broke the siege. When it was over, Firebase Omega-7 was saved, the hyperspace route was secure, and the Allied fleet had achieved another impossible victory. The cost was heavy. 2 ships lost, hundreds dead, but they had won. In the aftermath, as rescue crews pulled survivors from damaged vessels, Vera found herself working alongside human and Cathani medics. Her royal training had included basic medical knowledge, and she found herself helping to save lives she had helped to preserve. Your Majesty, Captain Wu Jin said as she bandaged a wounded Cathani pilot. You have changed. Vera looked up from her work. How so? When we first met, you trembled at the thought of working with humans. Now you fight beside us. Vera considered his words as she finished treating the pilot's wounds. When we first met, I was afraid of what you might do to my people. Now I am afraid of what will happen to them if we do not work together. The human captain smiled. A real smile this time, not the cold expression he wore in battle. Your Majesty, I believe you are becoming a warrior. As their small fleet began the journey home, Vera stood once again beside Captain Wu Jin on the bridge. The stars ahead held unknown dangers, but for the first time since the war began, she felt ready to face them. The intelligence came from a dying swarm bioship, captured after the battle at Firebase Omega-7. Deep in its organic memory banks, human technicians found something that changed everything: the location of the swarm's central hive mind. Queen. Vera stood in the war room, staring at the holographic display that showed a massive structure hidden in the galactic core. The thing was larger than most moons, a twisted combination of metal and living tissue that pulsed with dark energy. The heart of hunger, Captain Wu Jin said quietly. That is what the old records call it. Every void swarm entity is connected to that thing. Destroy it and the entire swarm dies instantly. Or we die trying. Major Jiho added grimly. The approach route is through the most dangerous region of space in the galaxy, and the heart itself is protected by defenses we can barely imagine. Vera studied the tactical projections. The numbers were staggering. To reach the heart of hunger, they would need to fight through layers of swarm defenders, navigate gravitational anomalies that could tear ships apart, and somehow penetrate defenses that had protected the ancient enemy for millions of years. What are our chances? She asked. Wu Jin was quiet for a long moment. If we throw everything we have at it, maybe 1 in 10. If we are smart about it, 1 in 5. And if we do nothing, 0, Lieutenant Yunji said simply. Intelligence estimates show the swarm will overrun all inhabited systems within 6 months. This is our only chance. General Hana shook her head. Your Majesty, this is madness. We are talking about attacking the most dangerous location in the galaxy with forces already stretched thin. What forces do we have available? Vera asked. Major Jiho activated a new display. Combined human Cathani fleet. 67 capital ships, 200 destroyers, and 400 smaller vessels. Total crew complement of approximately 300,000. Against how many swarm entities? Unknown, Wu Jin admitted. But estimates suggest millions. The heart of hunger has been gathering strength for 1,000 years. Vera closed her eyes. 300,000 brave souls against millions of ancient enemies. The smart choice was to find a defensive position and hope for a miracle, but she had learned from Captain Wu Jin that sometimes the smart choice and the right choice were different things. I am going with the strike force, she announced. The room erupted in protests. General Hana stepped forward, his face pale. Your Majesty, absolutely not. If you die, the Empire dies with you. If I stay here while others die for my people, I am not worthy to be called a queen, Vera replied firmly. Besides, Captain Wu Jin taught me something important. Sometimes leaders must share the risks they ask others to take. Wu Jin studied her with those cold, calculating eyes. Finally, he nodded. Very well. But if you come as a military commander, not a figurehead. You will take orders from me during combat operations. Agreed. The preparations took 2 weeks. Every ship was modified for the dangerous journey ahead. Weapons were upgraded, armor reinforced, crews trained for the impossible mission. Vera spent her time learning advanced tactical procedures from human instructors, pushing herself to understand warfare at a level no Cathani ruler had ever needed to know. On the day of departure, she stood on the bridge of the flagship Soul's Pride, beside Captain Wu Jin. Behind them stretched the largest fleet in galactic history, humans and Cathani fighting together, their previous fears forgotten in the face of extinction. Fleet reports ready, Lieutenant Yunji announced. Signal all ships, Wujin commanded. Today we end this war. For our worlds, for our children, for the future of all life in this galaxy, we go to victory or death. The journey to the galactic core took 3 days through hyperspace routes no sane pilot would attempt. Ships were lost to gravity.